lines of that Roman will probably be the Fiend's opponent for WrestleMania. Not sure how well that'll go down, but I think that's the one that makes the most sense because they're on the same brand as well. And for Brock, I don't know where they go with him because it seems like he's gone for everyone, but I'm sure there'll be something coming up from somewhere. But I don't really think that you have to necessarily have, dominant versus dominant. And by the way, how many times have we seen that? And it's terrible. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. I actually like having two separate people because then you get more of a rub over to the other guys. But lastly then, Matt, let's just finish up on the women's match that did headline the show that a lot of people were a little bit stale about. I've got to say, I wasn't like the actual match. I didn't really have a problem with it. I just think the fans were just not into it for whatever reason, and sometimes that happens. But I can't really blame the talent as such that were in it. I felt like all three done. I can't say I was too surprised because I actually put a bet on that Shayna would win, so I must have sort of appreciated something that maybe she was going to get the rub here. And if you think of her record and the way she's been tapping everybody out, it's like, does it do too much damage to the other girls that she does that? And is it just going to enhance her as a dominant female wrestler on that brand? And you've also got, who's the other female that's just come along that's making all the waves at the minute that we saw a little while ago? What's her name?
Which brand?
On NXT now. She's just shown up. We saw her at NXT Brentwood a little while ago. What's her name? I can't think of her name. I'll have to come back to that. But yeah, with her coming on to that brand, I can see those two being the NXT takeover match down the line. So yeah, I think Shayna Baszler winning. I had no problems with it. What about for you, Matt? What
you mean Rhea Ripley?
Rhea Ripley. Sorry,
I was just like,
I was like thinking of Alien for some reason. That's Ripley, and I was thinking, is that right? Yeah, Rhea Ripley. So I can see those being the match down the line for me.
Yeah.
The way she's over. I mean, I would say she's more over than Becky at the moment, the way the fans are responding to her. But what did you think to that match, man? Did it fall a bit flat towards the end, and that's why people...
it did really for me, and I feel like it all boils down. I might get a bit of heat on this one, but I feel like it's the Becky effect now. It's the whole thing where she must be protected at all costs, because people like her, so they can't give her a loss. I feel like if Shayna had managed to tap her out, it would have been more impactful for me, really. And Bayley, it's the easy route to go, isn't it? She always gets the short end of the stick now, so I wasn't surprised by the way that went. I just feel like it would have done more for a feud between sort of maybe Ronda and Becky a little bit further down the line. If they could show that Becky isn't this all invincible person, she's had very few losses this year, so they're definitely protecting her for a reason. They're definitely not protecting Bayley for another reason, and Shayna's she gets the win and takes that to NXT, I guess.
Yeah, I feel as well the fans just don't know how to deal with Bayley at the moment. Like they're so sort of caught up in the moment, like of what is Bayley, where I don't know how to describe it. It's like Bayley's turned into sort of American version of soccer mum. Like she's the soccer. She's had a bad breakup with a guy, and now she's a woman. And she's going to be independent, and she's, that's the look and style she's going for. Like she's got
her best friend.
All her secrets. She's had that haircut, and it's no more crap anymore. She's the real. That's how she's coming across to me. But I think it's just going to take time. I just feel like the development for her character, unfortunately, just hasn't been enough to really get on and understand where she's coming from. Like if she'd have come out and gone, you know what, every time I hugged one of you people, when I went backstage I cleansed myself. I was disgusted with doing it, but they seem to be holding off on that just in case they ever do want to turn her back, which wouldn't surprise me. So it's like they don't want her to say too much. But the thing is, when you do one of those giant turns, I know everyone might knock it a little bit, but I actually think that Hulk Hogan was one of the best heels we've ever seen. And the reason he was one of the best heels we've ever seen is because of his past. You can't you can't get that. You can't just come in and be nasty and that's it. If you've done all those great things, you've had all those followers, and then suddenly you turn. But the thing with Hogan is he went 110% with it. He told them they were crap and he hated all the fans. You know what I mean? He really went into it like he weren't going to go back. Now we know that ended up happening, but it ended up happening quite naturally in the end. But I feel like Bayley, there's a certain holding off part. They don't want to go too far because if you say that, we'll never get them back.
It is ridiculous because she had an easy out as well. Like her best friend, Sasha's not known for the best fan interaction. If you approach her on the street or in an airport or something, you're not going to usually get a great response.
And she could have spoke about things like that, you know, like, oh, I had to watch my friend just get on a plane, whereas I would have to be Bayley and sign everyone's. You know what I mean? Like that would be great to watch, and you could do like 5-6 episodes of SmackDown just on promos. You wouldn't even have to do a match. So I feel like they're missing out, but I do feel they're being a little bit hasty about her at the moment, which is a shame because it's a terrific worker, and you know she's a champion. But we're talking about her as if she's quite B-list amongst everything. Okay, let's move on to Raw then. Got to talk about Max. He gets a lot of emails. Rusev, what is your take with this? Because I've got 50% of, I'd say, our listeners that are saying, no, this makes sense. This gets the most hits on YouTube. Like it or love it. This is what people want. And then another side of it are just disgusted with it and feel sorry for poor old Rusev. But I'd say the last Raw I saw, it's the first time I thought, maybe it's because Rusev actually went up there and did something, that I thought, oh, there is maybe something to this, and now we just get the match and it's going to be done with. But I do feel like, I spoke about ages ago, it was the wrong cast for this. I feel like Bobby Lashley just looks so uncomfortable. Like, it's hard to take him in that way. This is a guy who done shoot interviews and said he hated doing stories, he just likes to wrestle, and you know he's doing this. It's almost like Vince is having his own laugh backstage. But obviously Lana, I think, is probably the most natural fit in all this, but I think they've just cast the wrong people. But what have you made of it now, where we're at now, Matt? And it looks like we're probably going to get a payoff at some point.
I'm going to agree with you and say they cast the wrong people. I don't think Lashley is the right one. I think it tarnishes his sort of reputation a little bit. He should be more in a class towards where
someone like Bobby Roode or something.
Yeah,
that old character he had.
Lashley should be more in a special category. He should be like an understudy to Brock. You know, they've got that same background and the same sort of great wrestling skills, like naturally. So I think like if they had taken him more seriously, it could have been better. I feel like I see someone like Corbin as more of a sleazy character like this, and he'll do whatever's asked of him anyway. So I feel like he's more of a right guy for that fit. But they didn't go that route. We got what we got. I'm not so much a fan of this. I feel like you see some things and you're like, this is 100% Vince. He's looked at the script, tore it up and went, no, I want this. Give me this. And this is what now is happening.
I love you.
What we get. And in the past, probably Vince would have wrote himself in as the guy getting the action here. He would have been the one with Lana in the past. So I feel like it's a step back. At least someone else is now taking over that role. We don't have to see Vince fulfilling that and whatever fantasy he has. But yeah, so if people who want to see the attitude stuff, I feel like this is for them, because this is like something from way back when, like this is early 2000s stuff. It just feels a little bit dated these days. And why can't people do this in their personal life? Why they got to take it to the ring all the time? I will say I'll take one thing back. I thought Rusev a few weeks ago was a broken man and looked like he was never going to get back, and WWE maybe just penning him out. But he did get a crazy reaction on Raw. Now, whether it was because it's the first time he's gone up there and lumped him, and he looked like he was actually tagging him proper, and maybe that's why people were reacting like that. But I just feel overall it's already been done once with the same two people, Rusev and Lana, with Dolph Ziggler, and it's just retreading stuff. That's the only thing I have against it. But what I will say on a positive note is that if you do story arcs, they can work if you do it start to finish. And how many times have we seen it? Who was the other couple that was pregnant? We haven't seen them since. Maria.
Yeah, I mean, what happened there? What happened with... And the whole car botch with Roman Reigns. Like, everyone was really curious about that. But they're very fast to pull the triggers. And I thought, I bet this is going to be another instance where the whole Lana thing just phases out into nothing. If you follow it through, no matter how bad a story can be sometimes, because we get very little story arcs through 3 months, because it always normally goes month to month, they can pay off better than a bad story for a month. Do you know what I mean? Like a bad story for 3 months, there is something towards the end of it at least. But that's the only thing. Where Rusev and Lashley go after this, I have no idea. Does Lana roll off into the sunset with them? I'm glad they've dropped the whole pregnancy thing for now. And I don't know. Is this a push for Bobby somewhere? I have no idea. I feel like it's a very strange situation for Bobby.
Yeah, because you'd feel like the natural finish to this would be that Rusev comes out on top. But that does no favours to Bobby, does it? So I don't know. Yeah, and if Rusev doesn't win, then what has he actually gained from this? He's looked stupid. He's had his reputation destroyed. And he comes out of a loss. It's just massively disappointing.
Without a woman by the end of it, no doubt. So we'll have to see where that goes. Also, as Matt alluded to earlier, Seth Rollins looks like he's now going to go to a heel. Very much lots of signs of that. It reminded me of the whole DX, the way that started up. I'm kind of glad that the Wassett brothers are together with him as well. Because I think, what are their names? The tag team that have been doing the promos that are positioning themselves. AOP, yeah. I think like them being a part with all this as well is going to be good. But I just think Seth Rollins, like, look, it weren't going anywhere. Whatever people said, we all said, we want Seth Rollins as our champion. We want Seth to be the worker because he does it every week. Now, I think, is this Seth Rollins' fault? Is this WWE's fault? Is this the fans' fault? Because sometimes you get what you're given and then you still don't want it. For me, I think it's slightly to do with Seth and the WWE, in my opinion. And I only say that because I'm going to give the fans a little bit of a breathing space here, because I've seen the fans get knocked quite a bit the last few days because of this. But I feel like, really, positioning with Becky was a disaster, and that did neither of them any good, and nobody wanted to see it. The chemistry was diabolical. They had no chemistry. Like, whereas Rusev and Lana, they have chemistry. Miz and Maryse, chemistry all over. Like, there are certain couples that can pull it off on and off screen. They're brilliant. Then there's like John Cena and Nikki Bella types, where it don't come across so well. So I feel like they fit in that category. It was a terrible thing. Was Seth the bitch? I don't know. It came across like that. Like, I'm the man, you do what I'm telling you. She was saving him. It was all over the place, and no one was benefiting. They did some tag team main events. And it seemed to me like Seth Rollins never got the dream matches to say, I'm the guy, I can pull off 5-star matches, because he never got those opponents. And that is down to the booking. Add that with, say, just the way, and I don't know whose fault this is. Is this more Seth's fault, or is this the story guy's fault? I don't know. But the writers, they made Seth sound so whiny towards the end. And some of the things he was saying were kind of like a heel anyway. So it was very difficult to get behind Seth. I feel like he's, if there's another guy out there, I feel he might be similar towards is Randy Orton. Randy had that same problem. As soon as fans think they want him, he starts talking, and because they completely change him as a character, it don't work. What's your take on it, Matt? Why did Seth Rollins not be? Because we all said, before WrestleMania maybe, that finally Seth beats Brock, we're all going to be happy. This is what we want. We don't need Brock anymore. We want Seth. We didn't want Roman. Seth's our guy. Why did it not work out for you, Matt? What is he's got to be the most complex kind of person, Seth. He's very interesting in many ways, and I feel like in the ring he's unquestionable. Like, he puts in 100% effort every time he steps into that ring, and he's got such a wide variety of moves.
one of the things is just like it's always difficult to know who he is. His finish has changed about 4 or 5 times as well, which doesn't help. You need that consistency. You need to stay with one thing and have those high impact moves. But it's been all over the place the last few years. I know his pedigree, ripcord knee, stomp, whatever. It's all and. For me as well, he borrows a lot of moves as well. I've seen him doing Finn Balor moves. I've seen him doing sort of other people's like Kevin Owens and whatever. And that confuses me as well. It's like he's not defined to one set sort of thing. I know it's all okay to try out new things but then it feels like you're ripping people off sometimes. And like you said, I feel like he's a better heel in many ways because he has got